We have something we want to talk about today.
Through this gate and under these trees,
the drone wasn't able to fly where we wanted it to go.
It keeps dropping signal.
there is a real and actual secret society.
Chris Tucker basically confirmed that the list was like legit because he's on it.
Right.
The trauma response opens you up to conditioning. It's the same shit kidnappers use. It's the same shit people who torture you use.
The cloning of human beings, possible contact with extraterrestrials, possible human immortality.
Documents that would put lives at risk.
Behind this door, through this gate, and under these trees,
the drone wasn't able to fly where we wanted it to go.
It keeps dropping signal.
there is a real and actual secret society. A group of the most powerful, wealthy men in the world, going back over a century. The Bohemian Club is an invite-only, men-only social club in San Francisco that's long been the center of conspiracy theory.
Have you been there for the ceremony with the cremation of care? I don't think that's something I need to talk to you about.
Especially surrounding their yearly encampments at Bohemian Grove. Allegedly meant for the ultra-powerful to just relax and bro out.
SEAL Team 6 came.
The lakeside talks. That's key.
This is where they would keep all of the sex workers during the Grove.
Presidents, CEOs, bankers, lobbyists, Supreme Court justices, CIA directors, and those are just the people who've been disclosed already. The full membership is meant to be completely private. But investigative reporter Daniel Boguslaw reached out to More Perfect Union with something wild.
This is every member of Bohemian Club, and this is everyone who attended the 2023 summer camp.
I'm going to stop this video a little early. It's a 17-minute long video by a channel called More Perfect Union. Go check them out. Definitely worth a watch. Not sure if I've seen this video. I might have. It feels familiar. There's a lot of content out there around Bohemian Grove nowadays, but it's definitely interesting stuff. And I think, you know, we've talked about stuff like the Freemasons before, called a secret society, all that stuff. I don't really go in for that. I think the Freemasons specifically, while they have held power in the past, I don't know that they hold so much power today. And they're frankly not really a secret society. They themselves call themselves a society with secrets, but anyone can go join the Masons. It's open to anyone. They don't actively recruit, but you can, if you show interest, you can go and join and learn all the secrets. And people have and written books about it. So it's pretty widely known. Bohemian Club is entirely different. Not anyone can join. You can't go in there and just get a spot. So this, I think, is a lot more grounded in reality in terms of actually being a secret society.
And they asked Chris Tucker on a podcast, what's up with you being on the list? He didn't do what Jimmy Kimmel said. Jimmy Kimmel said it's a fake list. Who cares what that list says? It's fake.
Right.
Chris Tucker goes, yeah, I did go on that flight, but we went to Africa and I went with a bunch of diplomats. I didn't know who this fucking Epstein guy was. Like Chris Tucker says, like, I had no idea. We were on this plane. We were going to Africa, do some diplomatic shit. And turns out he's a pedophile. I didn't know.
Well, they definitely got people connected to him by using famous people.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
like, my point was Chris Tucker basically confirmed that the list was like legit because he's on it.
Right. There's this dude that was inviting me to this conference once, and he was like, Kanye West is going to be there. I'm like, oh, Kanye West is going to be there. Next thing you know, you're there, right? Yes. And if you don't know who's there, and some dude, this was just a conference, it was like a tech conference. They wanted me to come and talk about like the influence of social media and podcasting and shit. I was like, I talk about that all the time. When am I going to go there? But point is, they were trying to lure me by saying that some famous dude I know is going to be there. So if you hear like, oh my God, you know, Richard Dawkins is going to be there.
You think it's safe?
Yeah, all these famous people are going to be there. World leaders are going to be there.
Yeah, so I'm starting a new segment of content for the channel where we're looking at longer form content like documentaries and stuff like that. This just so happens to kind of be in line with the topic I talked about in the video I filmed today, which is the context, right? Just because you're in the orbit of some of these people doesn't necessarily mean you're guilty of what they're guilty of. Certainly, worth looking into, and you need to have a response for that makes sense. And I agree with Eddie Bravo here. Jimmy Kimmel's response, not particularly satisfactory, whereas Chris Tucker's kind of is. He says, yeah, I was there, but what do you want me to do? I didn't know these people. And I think that's a perfectly legitimate response, and I think that's believable. And unless we have other evidence to suggest otherwise, I would take him at face value. And furthermore, also, as Eddie Bravo pointed out, Chris Tucker is confirming that the list is real, which of course we all know at this point. I think those folks who tried to dismiss it are clearly hiding, makes you question why they would try to dismiss it. So, but point being, I think that, understanding the nuance here, not everyone is guilty by association. They are certainly worth interrogating to a certain extent and trying to get the real story out of them. But again, nuance is important.
I give you $1, just one single dollar. In our system of banking, I would say, okay, Steve, I gave you $1. How much could you lend out to your friends? And your natural reaction would be probably something less than $1 because I want to keep something in my pocket. The way our system works is if you as a bank are holding my dollar, you can lend out an additional $8 or $9. No, it's impossible. I only have $1, Jeffrey. We have something called fractionalized reserves, which is if you have 1, you can lend out 9. That's the way our system works. And so not only do world leaders not understand banking, but the man on the street, my father who worked in the park department, it would be beyond his imagination that people could lend out more money than they actually had in their pocket. Next question.
Couple of things here. One, it's pretty well known by some people who are a lot smarter than I am, a lot smarter than your average bear, that Jeff Epstein was kind of an idiot and not really well versed on what he claims to be well versed on. Banking would be one of those things. Although everything he's saying here, I believe, is true. Fractional reserve banking is an issue, and leverage is an issue, especially when it's institutionalized. In my opinion, I think that leads to things, a lot of problematic events that have happened throughout history based on that system. So yeah, something's wrong, although the source is not really reliable.
He says that assassinations, public assassinations, create trauma, cultural trauma. Charlie Kirk. Did you notice the Charlie Kirk assassination? Everyone saw it.
Yes.
Before they shut it down. All of us had to watch that shit happen, right? So this produces trauma. The trauma response opens you up to conditioning. It's the same shit kidnappers use. It's the same shit people who torture you use. They freak you the fuck out so that you kind of disassociate. You don't want to be there. You go into a kind of sad, foggy place. And then in that place, they show you the Asics commercial. In that place, they give you some propaganda. In that place, they give you a solution so this will never happen again. This is a known technique for mind controlling people. So anytime there's assassinations, it's not just like power dynamic shift, it's cultural dynamic shift, because they inject that moment with however they want to shift the tide.
Right.
So, so Instagram is, or any social media is kind of doing this, but like low level.
Right.
So you look, you know, suddenly you're
microdosing it.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
microdosing it.
Opening, like freaking you out. And then what do you know? And then where it gets really creepy is the commercial you're getting isn't just from the algorithm. It's because your phone heard you talking about wanting to, like, what's the best fishing rod to catch catfish?
Yeah.
And then so right after you watch a furry eat a hot dog with a human turd in it,
Yeah.
and you're like, what's happened to the world? Like an ad for like fishing rods comes up. You're like, oh, cool. I should get that fishing rod.
And dude, speaking of hot dogs, dude, foot-long hot dogs, that should count as, white people eating foot-long hot dogs should count as reparations, dude, I think.
I don't know what the last comment by Thiel had to do with anything. I'm not sure I followed that part, but got a good chuckle out of me. But yeah, this is such an interesting one. This is really brought back to sort of forefront of popular discourse because of the preliminary trial that's been going on, or was going on last week. I'm not sure if it's continuing this week, but seems to be all over social media right now. Everyone talking about the Charlie Kirk case. This is a really, really interesting concept that Dustin is talking about. That was, sorry, not Dustin, Duncan. That's Duncan Trussell on the Theo Vaughn podcast. I'm pretty sure everyone knows who Theo Vaughn is, very popular guy. Go check him out. Duncan Trussell is awesome. He does a lot of really great content in the conspiracy space. And the concept that he's talking about here is super interesting. I mean, I think this is worth a deep dive into that idea of using large-scale public trauma as a means for Psyop is a really interesting idea that I think is worth exploring. I haven't really come across that concept before, but it makes a lot of sense to me.
That's how the Pokemon Go thing happened. Like, Pokemon Go is the biggest thing in the world. I need a conspiracy about it because that's a good thumbnail and that's like a good way to get people to watch the video. Well, maybe the theory is that they're tracking everything you're doing. Maybe they're actually using all the data. Maybe they're trying to get you to make a map of the world. Cut to 8 years later, that
turns out they are.
Every park you explored, every street you walked with your camera open, it all trained a massive AI system building a high-resolution 3D model of the Earth. It might be the biggest reverse labor heist ever.
Yeah, so I think my brain is just wired in a way where I'm seeing the worst case scenarios of things that should just be fun.
Wow.
Is that sad?
A little bit. I like to see the best in people.
Right.
Like Shane Dawson's reaction to that comment by his partner. I like to see the best in people. Right. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me, but also I'm like, how valuable was that data? I don't understand. You're using it to train AI? Maybe. I don't understand enough about this stuff. And I'm sure someone in the comments is gonna have all the answers, right? Like, I mean, it seems to be that case when you're talking to the internet, but you know, I'd need to like really get my head around the value in this data before I could really subscribe to buying into this one.
That people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. I look for the invention of artificial life, the cloning of human beings, possible contact with extraterrestrials, possible human immortality, appalling acts of brutality, genocide, because the systems which are in place to keep the world sane are utterly inadequate to the forces that have been unleashed. The good news is that as primates, we're incredibly adaptable, going to be tested to the limits. What they see going on is the breakdown of all tradition, all order. They're quite right that it's happening, but they're quite wrong to conclude that it should be resisted or is somehow evil. The mushroom said to me once, it said, this is what it's like when a species prepares to depart for the stars. You don't depart for the stars under calm and orderly conditions. It's a fire in a madhouse.
Very, very interesting point. That gentleman's name is Terrence McKenna. He's very much sort of a big name in the counterculture space who was experimenting with psychedelics and stuff like that. And I tend to agree with him. Like, you know, obviously a lot of the conspiracies that I like to talk about are more on the political side. You know, Epstein, JFK, 9/11, these types of things. Some of those are obviously, all of those that I talked about are inherently negative in my opinion. So like, I mean, there's no benefit to society of a character like Epstein. So that's unquestionable. But the rise of AI and human cloning and the fusion of you know, biology and tech, you know, is transhumanism on the horizon? These types of things I look at with a little bit more of an open mind and ask, you know, maybe there is something valuable here. Maybe it's not necessarily all bad and all evil. And I think it's important to keep an open mind. I mentioned earlier that I'm starting a new segment for this channel where we look at more long-form content. We talked about, sort of liberal perspectives on things like, sex and, clubs where that kind of activity might take place, and just a more open-minded perspective around, adult activities. I think it's perfectly fine, and it's also perfectly fine to not want to take part of that, to have a more conservative sense of morality, but you shouldn't expect everyone around you to share your values and morality. I mean, you can certainly seek to associate with only those people, and that's perfectly fine as well. But you can't expect the whole world to adhere to your sense of morality, and I think that that's the case here as well, that there may be some value in transhumanism. And I think keeping an open mind is important. Also, it should be said that the powers that be who tend to drive these innovations tend to be out in it for themselves. So it's also important to while you maintain an open mind, also make sure that open mind is critical and always on the lookout for, these systems and tools and innovations being manipulated against our best interests. But overall, I think an open mind is valuable.
He was joking when he said there are aliens he's just never seen.
No. First, Obama is scientifically.
I think he was joking when he said there are aliens he's just never seen.
No. First, Obama is scientifically literate. It's A. B, he said, because he's scientifically literate, he said what is scientifically defensible, that there are probably aliens in the universe. Anyone who studied that problem will arrive at that conclusion.
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in, what is it?
Area 51?
Area 51. There's no underground facility, unless there's this enormous conspiracy, and they hid it from the President of the United States.
That's what he said. But as former President of the United States, and we have sort of alien adjacent culture, it was, that must mean there are aliens in the basement of the White House or somewhere in government custody. They took his statement that, sure, there are aliens out there, and turned it onto the U.S. government. And when I heard his comments, that's exactly what any scientifically literate person would say. What people did with that information, he then had to come back and explain. I didn't even think that was necessary, but apparently it was.
Everything he said in this video is 100% correct. They just showed the clip. So unless there's another clip of Obama that people are referencing where he's talking about aliens, that maybe then we can comment on that. But in terms of what we saw here in this clip, Obama did not give up any information that was a secret.
All right, I have one more story. This guy was dating this girl, 1893 in Texas, and he ended up breaking up with her, and she couldn't handle it. She was so upset by it that she ended up, oh no, very sad. Yeah. The brother of the girl went to this man's house
to seek revenge.
To seek revenge, shot at him. It grazed him and lodged into a tree behind him. And he's like, I'm the luckiest man ever. But that brother ended up immediately, 40 years went by. He got married, had kids. Mm-hmm. And then him and his son were like, we're going to go take down that tree. And it was a big old tree. No. And they started chopping it down. It was like such a big tree and like really dense.
No.
He said, go get the dynamite.
Don't.
The son put the dynamite in. The dad's just standing there. It was like 100 yards away or something. The son lights the dynamite, runs away. Boom. That bullet that was lodged in that tree right in the middle of the forehead.
Are you kidding me? That's a real story?
Real story. The fire from the dynamite went up through the tree, dislodged the bullet, went straight into the dude's head.
Not really a conspiracy, just a wild story, but super interesting. I mean, quirk of history for sure.
The story of the psychic competition between the US and the Soviet Union is like the chicken and the egg. Some say the CIA heard the Soviets had psychic spies, so they launched their own programs in response. Others say the US was first and the Soviets were responding. Either way, both superpowers created well-funded, super-secret programs focused on ESP, or extrasensory perception. In other words, psychic espionage. A skilled remote viewer would be the perfect spy. They could go anywhere, see anything, completely undetected. Remote viewing means the end of state secrets. Really, the end of all secrets.
Yeah, this is definitely a part of the Cold War story for sure, 100%. It's a part of maybe not necessarily MK Ultra, but the package, the various packages of operations that were going on during this period of time included experiments in ESP and remote viewing and all kinds of stuff. And it is super interesting stuff. You should be aware of to the extent of which this was pursued, because I think it lays a foundation for aspects of our government, and not just our government, but world governments, pursuing what you might see as alternative technology. That may be hard to believe, right? It's difficult to believe that something like remote viewing or ESP, psychics exist and are real, but it was legitimate enough to put a lot of money behind it and a lot of smart people behind it to try and test its efficacy. And you should be aware of that because it leads to the question of what else are they willing to try.
In the case of Peter Thiel, personally, and J.D. Vance, who he has engineered as his political front and his tool, it's a very dangerous situation. I have intelligence that this man, Peter Thiel, runs an organization called the Collins Elite, which consists of religious fanatics, both evangelicals and trad caths that belong to different military intelligence organizations, as well as the CIA. In other words, Defense Intelligence Agency, Naval Intelligence, Air Force Office of Special Investigations, and the CIA. And I found this out through the CIA because they were very upset that they've been infiltrated and manipulated by these people. And this group, the Collins Elite, is behind all this discourse you see today from Tucker Carlson, Anna Paulina Luna, Tim Burchett, Burleson, Representative Burleson, about how the UFOs are really manifestations of demons, okay? And that if there's anything positive out there, it's angels, and that everything negative is being done by demons, right back into the medieval worldview. And the man who's behind that is Peter Thiel. And he wants J.D. Vance to become president so that the so-called disclosure will take the form of, oh, dear Lord, there are demons here. We need to rededicate this country to Christianity and fortify ourselves because there's no actual defense against these entities. And the best we can do is to turn every home into a church and, pray these things away and out of the closets, and out from under the beds and whatever, This is the shit they want to do to us, okay? And so I see that as really, one of my principal adversaries and one of the greatest threats on the horizon, immediate horizon, that this kind of return of religious zealotry and evangelical and Orthodox fanaticism has to be completely defeated. And we need to figure out how to do that, most effectively and in very short order. But indispensable to that is an understanding of the fundamental thinkers and the way in which philosophy, from its fountainhead, has been radically irreligious and an expression of a Promethean spirit that's ultimately about the human potential.
So, a couple of things. One, this guy clearly wears his biases on his sleeve. He's very much more of a intellectual, traditional liberalism, Enlightenment philosophies, and sort of anti-religious. That's clear. We should call those biases out. Additionally, this guy's been around the UFO conversation forever. I've seen him many times. He's all over the place, and these guys always have all the answers. They've got inside tracks on everything, right? They know everybody and everything that's going on. And to me, it's a red flag. They never have any proof. It's just someone they spoke to. They've got inside sources. Trust me, I spoke to the people and they showed me the evidence. And I can't show you the evidence because it's hush hush, this, that, and the other, but I know, and let me tell you, by my book. It's always the same with these guys. I've never seen any proof from any one of them. Any sort of legitimate evidence has come from any of these guys. He's not the only one who's like this. Stephen Greer, someone I talk about a lot in a similar vein. These guys never have anything of value to show you. It's always a story. It's always a story. And understand that they're able to monetize that narrative that they're pushing. So that to me is a clear red flag when someone's been around this space forever, has never produced a single shred of physical evidence to document anything that they're saying, and yet always has the answer, something's going on, this, that, and the other. This just happens to come around the time to, I don't know when he actually made this statement, but the whole dialogue group was recently disclosed, which is sort of a club that Peter Thiel has. Maybe you call it a secret society, whatever, of people meeting, talking in secret, high-level people about some really odd stuff. It's almost Bohemian Grove-like. He also, maybe a year or two ago, did the whole Antichrist lectures, which was very odd. So this to me just screams someone who's bandwagoning off of the Peter Thiel name to try and increase his own exposure so that he can continue to monetize his own narratives. And it's just lacking in any real credibility. I really, really don't like these guys because, like I said, they've been orbiting this space for decades. None of them have ever shown anything legitimate in my point of view, and they're all just kind of grifters. So I don't really take anything these guys have to say. And the whole philosophy, the whole theory to me doesn't make any sense. The idea that you're going to return the country, the whole world to medieval level religious zealotry is crazy, which isn't to say that we don't have issues with that. I mean, what's going on in the Middle East is potentially an extension of wars that have been going on for thousands of years, depending on how you want to look at it. So I'm not saying that there aren't issues there, that religion can't be problematic in certain ways, but this idea that they're going to institute a level of control using religion and, oh, we all have to pray away the demons is crazy. Crazy that anyone would think that's going to work at scale. And so this to me is just a goofy guy who's trying to sell more books. That's all it is. They're fun to watch and listen to sometimes. Some of them have some interesting takes of what things could be, but to me they're all full of it, frankly. And I've never heard any one of these guys ever say anything remotely legitimate in my point of view. Anyways, we're going to end it there today. I hope you guys enjoyed some of these TikToks and some of the commentary. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. What do you think of these alien guys? There's a lot of these guys out there. I remember Ancient Aliens on the History Channel. I'm sure some people remember that. It just seems like these guys circle this community and are the ones making money off of it. I mean, that's my opinion. What do you think of these guys? I'd love to hear it. So thank you for watching. Thanks for the support. All the engagement means the world to me at this stage of building the channel. We'll be back tomorrow with another one. See you then. Thanks.